It's the 4th of June, 2021. This is day 3 of EULAR 2021. I'm Jack Cush, executive editor of RheumNow.com, coming to you from my kitchen where I'm covering the EULAR 2021 meeting. It's exciting. It's never ending. We start 4 a.m. We're still working at it at midnight. But again, I think you'll see a lot of good stuff on the website. Hopefully you're watching the stream either on Twitter or in your email or on our website. So let me give you a few snippets from this meeting so far. First, congratulations to all the presenters at EULAR. I think they've done a great job in piecing this together for a virtual presentation. Both the researchers and the EULAR organizers, led by Ian McGinnis and many capable people, have done a fine job. Some of the abstracts that I like so far that I'll just talk briefly about here. Why not start with one that I'm an author on, the Select Compare study. The Select Compare study, as you know, is an analysis of patients who go on UPA or not after they have failed other therapies, after they fail the TNF inhibitor, and they go on to receive UPA. And the bottom line is that it works really quite well. And in this particular analysis, I think there was, I don't know, it was either 300 or 600 who entered the actual Select Compare study. And now we're doing a sub-analysis or a post-hoc analysis of those patients who were previously treated with IL-6 inhibitors, or previously treated and failed 1, 2, or 3 TNF inhibitors. And the response rates are again, all in line with what we saw with the original Select Compare study, even though the subgroup analyses that we're looking at here are sometimes small. I think we had 170 patients who had failed 1 or more TNF inhibitors, but I think there was only 50 or so who had failed IL-6. But the bottom line is that despite either failing TNF or IL-6, you could go on to receive a JAK inhibitor, in this case upadacitinib, and do quite well going forward. The safety signals, there was nothing really new there. I think that was all quite important. A nice abstract from Ron van Vollenhoven looking at the 3-year outcomes from the Select Early study. These are patients who had early disease and were treated with UPA or methotrexate, and they did very, very well. The 3-year data looks, as most of these 3, 5, and 10-year reports all look really great, because you're only looking at the people who stayed on the drug, people who already have proven that it works and already proven that it's safe. But it continues to be safe over a 3-year period. No new signals there. Again, congratulations to them for that. I thought there was very interesting data on SPA. UPA showed its 1-year data showing it works in spondyloarthritis patients, which was as expected, but very encouraging, because there currently are no JAK inhibitors that are FDA approved for use in spondyloarthritis. Tofacitinib has an application on file with the FDA that's on hold until the FDA can make decisions about tofacitinib and other JAK issues. I would expect we see that maybe in the 3rd quarter of this year. And then these other drugs, including upadacitinib and also filgotinib, have shown some very good data. Filgotinib showed data at this meeting that the X-rays there's an X-ray benefit to using filgotinib. And again, trying to prove X-ray benefit, retardation of X-ray progression in spondylitis is much, much, much higher in AS and SPA patients than in RA. But now we're seeing it with several of the JAK inhibitors in this example, led by filgotinib. But there are reports also at this meeting of TNF inhibitors showing the ability to protect against progression in patients with spondyloarthritis who are treated with TNF inhibitors. But a lot of the studies there take maybe up to 4 years to see those kind of benefits. And that's maybe why we haven't seen this data thus far, because who wants to do a 4 or a 10-year study? That's not good. Also in the world of spondyloarthritis, abstract OP227, deucravacitinib, or the TYK2 inhibitor, we introduced last year as a drug being studied in psoriatic arthritis, and now we have extended results. The primary endpoint in that trial was a 16-week. They tried 2 different doses of the TYK2 inhibitor, deucravacitinib, or Dookie, as I want to call it. They're not going to like that. Anyway, ACR20s, DAPSA, MDA, minimal disease activity, all superior in the 2 doses of deucravacitinib versus placebo. The ACR20 was 63% with the highest dose, 12 milligrams, 53% with the lower dose, and 32% with the placebo at 16 weeks. Again, no new safety signals there, and that's encouraging. I think maybe the big issue in SPA that I saw in the last 2 days was the issue of one, JAKs being are in play, and there seems to be X-ray protection. The other issue is spacing. There was a very nice study that looked at can you take patients who are on TNF inhibitors to treat spondyloarthritis, and can you then space it out? Take your Enbrel from 1 to 2 to every 3 weeks or for every 4 weeks. Take your adalimumab to every 2 to every 3 to every 4 to every 5 weeks. And in that trial, I think there was almost 100 patients, and they had half that were spacing out their TNF inhibitors, and the other half that continued on the dose. And in the end, I want to say a 12-month outcome. The number of patients who were still in low disease activity. Oh, by the way, you had to be in low disease activity, a BASDI less than 4, and doing well on the TNF inhibitor to be entered. So at 12 months, the number who were still in low disease activity was over like 91.5% on those who continued drug versus 88% in those who were spacing it out. And there didn't seem to be any other downside. Now, what you don't know is, and this is a relatively small cohort for the SPA world, but you don't know whether there's an X-ray hit, whether there's a bony consequence to spacing out and giving suboptimal therapy. You don't know whether there's going to be, other safety signals. I think you need larger numbers. But I think for those of you who I'm talking about myself. I hate spacing studies. For those of you who like spacing studies, this is encouraging. Of course, many of us don't really care as much, but we care that our patients are spacing the drugs out, and we want to be a little bit more prescriptive about guiding them on that and having that ability to tell them what they might expect if they start spacing out their drugs. Anyway, in SPA, the spacing study is encouraging. And lastly, a nice report on RA from the Rabbit Registry. Strangfeld and colleagues looked at the issue of, can you give a biologic and or a JAK inhibitor to an elderly RA patient without any infectious risk, or is it higher? When it comes to the risk of serious infections in RA, elderly, being over 65, over 70, is a certain risk factor for having a higher rate of infection. If you look at the analysis of what elderly people are taking, they're often less likely to be on a biologic or a JAK, and that is, I think, because of many of us are uncertain, many of us are afraid of infection. Patients may not have the finances because they're on Medicare to get on a biologic, and they have a significant amount of comorbidities. But should they be deprived of effective therapy if they need effective therapy or your most effective therapy? My answer is no, and my answer is backed up by this data from the Rabbit Registry. And here, what they showed was that, number one, that elderly patients do have a higher rate of SIEs. I want to say their SIE rate was 6.6 per 100 patient years. And if you compare that, and that's for the elderly people, if you compare it to all the RA patients in their study, it's about double the rate. So elderly patients do have a higher rate. But if you looked at all the elderly patients, they had over 600 or something in their group, and compared those who are on conventional DMARDs or IL-6 inhibitors or abatacept or rituximab or TNF inhibitors across the board, no difference in SIE rates. And I think that's very, very important to note. So, and I think and they were certainly just looking here at serious infections, hospitalizable serious infections as what meets that definition. So I hope you enjoyed EULAR so far. I've been enjoying it. I would encourage you to go to our website, look for something called EULAR-IQ in the email. If you click on EULAR-IQ in the email or on our website, you can take a quick short answer quiz, usually true false, and learn what's going on at EULAR, or if you are following what's going on in EULAR, see how good you are at picking up on new developments, new knowledge from this gigantic meeting supposedly going on in Paris, but it's going on worldwide. Tune in next week for the final update on EULAR 2021. Take good care.